Hello guys, and welcome back to another cold episode. Kewl Toon was extremely dominant within the WCQ. There were a ton of different Kewl Toon decks running rampant throughout the WCQ, specifically at the top. And with that, we're taking a look at pretty much the amalgamation of all of them, which is Pak's version here. Yeah, there were a bunch of different things that Pak did specifically, playing a lot of trap cards, playing board breakers, and then he inevitably came to this decision with this Kewl Toon build here, and it's kind of just an amalgamation of all of them kind of put together, with the board breakers, the traps, and notably Purge. This is a very interesting card within Kewl Toon, and I actually did want to showcase why this was being played. Now, obviously, with the most recent ban list that just came out, this is different, and it's obviously not going to be as playable in the same capacity that it is now. However, with that being said, I still want to showcase what this deck does and why it was so popular. So let's go through the card by card and the explanation. Starting off with the Kewl Toons, we're just maxing out on the good ones. Rotary 3, Mix 3, Reco 3, Q 3, and only 1 clip. We're also playing, of course, the 3 Kewl Toon Synchro, as well as 1 apiece of Synchro Overtake and Duelist Genesis, and then the 1 field spell. That's pretty much it. We're also playing the 1 Pot of Desires. A lot of players were also playing 3 of this because drawing 2 cards is very good. I don't know why this card came back to 3. I genuinely don't understand how Konami has given us the ability to draw 2 cards. As if that's not one of the most busted cards or effects in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! Anyway, regardless, the rest of the cards in here are just non-engine. We have a bunch of tuners, obviously, but not actually as many as you would originally think. Within Kewl Toon, we are just playing the Veilers, the Ashes, and the Ghost Bells, and that's it. No Ghost Ogre, no Ghost Mourner, no nothing else. Now, Ghost Mourner was fairly popular within the decks within the WCQ, so I'm not saying that that wasn't played. It's just that's not what was here. Instead, we are playing the 1 Maxi and the 1 Fua, as well as Crossout as a Crossout target. We're also playing the Called By, and then we have triple Infip and the 2 Purge, which we'll get into in a second, and then the 2 Fallen and the Virtuous. Purge is an interesting addition here because a lot of people were playing this. Like, this was a just common card. And you might be like, you can't even activate it from hand. Like, it cuts off half of your archetype, right? You can't activate your dark monsters, which is like half of your extra deck, which is technically true. Right? You wouldn't be able to activate any of your dark monsters. You wouldn't be able to activate your fire monster in Reco. So, like, half of your extra deck, Reco, all turned off. However, that doesn't matter because most of the time, the reason that you are winning the game is because you've hand-trapped your opponent going second into Oblivion, and therefore can just kind of steamroll them with pretty much anything. And you don't even need to activate the effects of your dark monsters, right? You don't need to activate RS to negate a card. You don't need to activate back-to-back. You just walk over them with these monsters, because the thing is, the level modulation still exists. Those aren't activated effects, and the ability to attack multiple times and be large, you know, gain attack, both of those are effects that don't activate and therefore are still applicable for both RS and back-to-back. Not to mention, you still have access to Trackmaker, which gives you the ability to search and keep all of your monsters flowing, and Loudness War, which also has the ability to pop and interact and still do additional things. So it's not like you're cut off entirely from your extra deck. You still have the ability to use it. I mean, I guess you can't really go Crackled, but you do have the ability to actually utilize some of your cards. So there's that. Hopefully it makes sense, but it's still weird in my mind. I honestly, looking at the WCQ, it was as if we were playing a different game entirely. Like, whatever the players in the WCQ were doing was not what I was doing in Master Duel, and not what anyone was doing in Master Duel. It seemed like we were genuinely playing 2 separate games. Like, I was playing checkers, and they were playing Go. I was like, those are just entirely separate games. So there's that. We're going to go into the replays and show you how this deck performed. Alrighty, this is probably the best showcase of what I mean by why we are playing Purge. Because I start out here by going like, okay, you know, we have 3 hand traps and the 1 card starter as well as insurance. We're looking pretty good, right? We're going second. Let's see what we can accomplish. My opponent goes for the mix. I go for the Fua. It does resolve, which is surprising. They're going to go for the Synchro here. I'm like, sure. They actually chain this really poorly, and it actually is the reason why I activate the Purge here. Because my opponent goes for Trackmaker, and I go, no, you failed. And now you don't get Trackmaker Search, nor the Trackmaker on the field, because we have a trap in the grave. So I got to activate the Purge from the hand. Now, I am locked, but I do have the Kewl engine. And I even drew a Duelist Genesis, which means that even if I were to activate this, and it gets interacted with, they go with the Veiler. Of course, they have the second Veiler, so they're going to activate the second one, because why would cross out do anything here? That's fine. We're going to go for the Duelist Genesis. We're going to go for the Synchro Overtake. We're going to activate the Synchro Overtake. It's going to be met by Bell, and I'm going to cry. Sure. Yeah, you know, Kewl. We're all big fans of Kewl. Okay. Anyway, my opponent draws and gets nothing, which is fantastic. Now, all I need to draw is a starter. Fantastic. So I just go to combat to see if they have something. Of course they do. I was like, yeah, like, of course they're gonna have something here. So they end up popping the with Playlist. This is a wild card, but sure, I never saw this. This card's like terrible, but alas, it pops the Q. So we just add a second Q. We're gonna go for the Mix here, and Mix is gonna grab Rotary. We can still use all of these effects. So we're going to go for the Trackmaker, Rotary, Q. We're going to look at the top of the opponent's deck. We already know what's in hand. And I believe I give them Ghost Bell. So there's that. We're going to grab the Kewl, or the JJ Kewl. We're going to grab the Kewl Synchro as well. I grab Rekko here, and this might seem strange, but the reason I originally grabbed it, because I was like, I just need a 3, right? Like, I don't actually need a specific name or anything of that nature. I just want to have access to a level 3 tuner. And because I was running low on the just number of, like, I have 1 Q, and I think I have 1 mix at this point. No, I have 2 mix. So it's like, I wanted to keep as many of those cards in rotation. So I'm just like, I'll just grab a 3 so that I can use it as just like a 3, right? Not a terrible idea. However, my opponent's going to go for the mix here, and I know exactly what's in hand, so I just allow them to do that. I'm like, yeah, I know you have Ghost Bell. If you search the Rotary, you have to summon the Rotary to get anything. So, of course, they do that. They summon the Rotary. And at this point, we can now go for the Kewl Synchro, add the mix, use the mix and the level 4 in order to go into the Loudness War, and this will trigger both of the effects, popping one of their cards, bouncing the other one back to the hand, putting them on nothing. And then we can normal summon the Rekko, which can then be used later for just the tribute summon, basically, for the JJ Kewl. So we're still pretty much going to win that game off of the Loudness War. And I mean, even then, if they were to activate a thing, we still have the ability to go for the Loudness War effect to remove additional cards. That's under Purge. Pretty good. Alrighty, here we are going first. And we have a pretty good hand. We drew Cross out again. That's kind of funny. We're going to go for the Q. We're going to activate the Rekko. We're going to go for the Rotary. Rotary effect is going to activate. We're going to go for the Mix. Mix effect is going to activate. We're going to grab the Rekko. Hooray. Synchro off into the level 4 for the Trackmaker. Activate the Q. Activate the Rotary. Activate the Trackmaker. If you're wondering why I'm doing it this way, it's because my opponent has yet to hand trap me in any meaningful way. Therefore, I'm fairly certain they don't have anything that they would want to utilize. So I'm actually going to get as much value as I can. So we are going to make sure that we look at the hand and then stack the deck so that we know what our opponent has from the top of the deck and what we can give them. So that's kind of the idea there. So we look at the hand and then we get to look at the top of the deck. Draco Tail. I believe the hand consisted of 2 5 mana and Ghost. But no, it wasn't Ghost Bell. It was 2 5 mana, Fallen in the Virtuous, Magnamut, and Horn. And so they don't really have anything that they can use the 5 mana with. Like, theoretically, they could use 5 mana here, but it's not great. So they elect to not use 5 mana. Which makes sense. We're going to go for the Zaleen, and we're going to set to 2, and then go to the end phase to utilize the Kewl Synchro during the end phase so that they can't 5 mana us. That's kind of the idea. So there's that. We're going to go for the remix here. Now they go for the Magnema, and I'm like, that's A-okay. I'm going to go for the Go Spell so that I can actually just negate and destroy the Magnema there. So there you go. It does still negate, but yeah. We also know that they have the Go Spell in hand. So they have 2 5 mana, Go Spell, Fallen and the Virtuous, and Horn, which does nothing for them. Like, that's just nothing. So there's that. They're going to go for the Zaleen. I'm actually going to go for the Crossout on the Fallen and the Virtuous so that they can't use it. And then they're going to set a card. Out comes the second Fallen and Virtuous. That's fine. We're going to grab back the Q, and then we're going to summon the Rekko and then Synchro off into back. Rekko is then going to pop the Horn. And realistically, I should have popped the Fallen and Virtuous and put this sideways. But I also didn't want to do that because then I would have no pressure. So immediately they go for the Fallen and the Virtuous 2 Electric Boogaloo on the back-to-back, but that's fine because guess what? We drew Rotary. That didn't matter. We still had Cool Tune Synchro. We had to search it if we wanted to, but we also could just normal summon Q. Now, my opponent has a decision to make. They could potentially activate Go Spell here to stop the Q. But if they do that, they now can't use Phimena to actually fusion summon. Which kills them. So they don't, and they can't, and I know that. They're dead. Like, they die. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Cool. We're going to look at that. I give them Droll here. Look at the hand. Out comes Mix. Mix is going to grab Rekko back. We're going to Synchro into RS, and then just attempts to go to combat. They're going to activate the effect of the Phimena. I'm going to bring back the Zaleen. They're going to go for the Phimena. They're going to go for the Arthalion. They're going to activate the effect of the Arthalion and Phimena in response, so that I can just activate the Zaleen and pop the Arthalion, and at that point the game is over. The game was over from the very beginning. Cool tune. Alrighty, here we are once again going first, and once again with Purge. And this is the advantage that Purge has going first. So that is basically just a better Ash Blossom. So that's kind of the idea here. We're going to start off here with Mix. We're going to go for the Q. Then we are going to normal summon the Q off of the Rotary. And then go for the Ash here. Now we contribute the Ash. The Ash is just here because we don't already have it. So I want to be able to access it off of a remix. So that's kind of the idea there. We're going to grab the clip off of the Rekko since we have everything else. We're going to go for it, the Cool Tune Track Maker. We're going to do the same thing that we did previously, where we're going to look at the hand and then stack the deck so that we know our opponent is on. And they're on RB, which is cool. They also have Crossout, which is funny. We're going to grab another Cool Tune Synchro, and we're going to look at the top of the deck. And I banish the Maxi and give them their Field Spell. That sounds crazy, because their Field Spell does the entire line, except for the fact that it dies to Fallen and the Virtuous, because this card is obscenely broken. We're going to set for it and pass the turn with the Remix on the field. I'm immediately going to go for the Remix here, and I know they have Crossout, so I actually don't go for Ash, because I'm like, well, it's just going to get crossed out. So I just won't go for that. They might have Fallen in the Virtuous, which, to be fair, they probably should, but they might not. So I'm like, I just won't go for the Ash. Not really a point to do that. Cool. We're going to go for the Rekko here. We're going to add the Rotary instead, and we're just going to pass the turn, or pass there. They do go for the Funk Dock. They don't have Fallen in the Virtuous. They summon out 2 guys. I'm like, that seems like a good time for me to do this because they don't have a Link monster, and now I can go Loudness War and pop and bounce because their special summon is a once per turn effect. So, cool. Yeah, we did it. Congratulations. Alrighty, and here we are going second this time. But, hey, look at that. 1-card starter and 4 hand crabs. Well, it's 3 with the Called by the Grave. But our opponent is going to... Actually, honestly, our opponent has a phenomenal hand. Not gonna lie. They're going to start off with the Grifflair. They also have the Field Spell and the Archmage to search the Medius. They're going to go for the Alteration, which I do Ash. But that's fine. I'll just wait for the Medius here. They're going to go and extra normal Medius and not activate his effect. I don't know why. That seems insane to me. But sure. We'll go Doug instead. They're going to activate the effect of Doug, which I fail it. And then they're going to activate the effect of the Medius Engrave, which I will Go Spell. Awesome. So, SP. Cool. Now, if I draw a tuner, pretty much, I do win the game. So let's see if I draw a tuner. They're going to banish Go Spell. Sure. Coolio. I draw a good tuner. So we're going to normal the mix, we're going to activate the effect, and they are going to banish our guy, and that's fine. We're going to grab a Rotary. We're going to activate the effect of Rotary, reveal the Reco, and my opponent concedes. Cool tune. All right, we're back with the deck, and honestly, this deck needed some heavy limitations, obviously. Past the WCQ, okay, first and foremost, what I will say about the WCQ, and the reason this deck I think dominated as much as it did, even though I still don't believe it is the best deck in the game, the reason for its domination is because, unlike something like Branded or Dracotail Branded, it is a simple, easy deck to play, especially over the course of a long weekend. Same thing with Radiant Typhoon. Those two decks in particular, I think, are just generally... First of all, Radiant Typhoon is stronger in general for... or, like, against Cool Tune. Like, it has a good Cool Tune matchup. And Cool Tune itself is just a generically strong deck that is also simple to play. I don't think there are many players who would be able to play Branded for the entire weekend and actually do well, because while Branded may be one of the best decks, and Dracotail Branded might be one of the best decks, or even Vanquishal Canine might be one of the best decks, the problem with that is that you would have to play it over the course of an entire weekend. So a lot of people, I have a feeling, weren't willing to do that, and so instead elected to play Cool Tune. That's the main reason I think this deck was as played as it was. Yeah. It's also probably one of the reasons why Radiant Typhoon was as played as it was, because Radiant Typhoon just kind of wins the game going first. Like, it just does the combo through a bunch of hand traps and doesn't really have many weaknesses going first. And then you pair that with the ability to go second with powerful quick play spells such as Fallen and the Virtuous and Droplet and what have you. And you can also push through established boards, not insanely, but at the very least effectively. And so that deck also does pretty well, and specifically has a good matchup into this deck because of the quick play aspect of it, because there are so many cards from this archetype that want to be able to, like, chain to a thing or activate in main phase or something like that. So, those are my thoughts. However, at this point, I have no idea. The WCQ, like, pretty much everyone who talked about the WCQ had an entirely different metagame in mind. So, I don't know if anyone actually had an understanding of what the heck happened. Cool Tune just had, like, a tier 0 representation, and, like, nothing else really showed up. Like, there were 5, I think. I think there were 4 Branded builds. There was, like, 1 Vanquishal Canine and 1 Malice, and then the rest were, like, Radiant Typhoon and a few Sky Striker and Cool Tune. It's like, oh, that was not at all what anyone even remotely thought. Maybe someone thought Cool Tune would have that, but I don't think anyone did. I don't even think people thought Cool Tune was the best deck. So, interesting. But, yeah, I'm going to call it quits there. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully Cool Tune sees significantly less representation, but it's also still Cool Tune, and it still does the same things. It'll just be more inconsistent. We'll take a look at that later, but thank you guys so much for watching, and remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye.